Thank you for watching The Forum. I'm your host, Ashley Tate, here with my co-host, Christy Largent. And today we are speaking with Scott Lewis, president of the board for the Shasta, Trinity, Tehama HIV Food Bank. That is a serious mouthful.
It is.
Yes. And it's so nice to have you on.
Thank you for having
so much.
me. You bet.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Tell us about this. What is this whole organization?
Yeah.
The organization started about 20 years ago with a gentleman that came back to town after he was diagnosed with HIV and AIDS and decided that they needed to do something for those living in the 3 counties, Shasta, Trinity, and Tehama, and a food bank was born. For the last 20 years, we were in one location for 18, and then the last 3 years we've been elsewhere, kind of in an isolated spot, but it works, and we serve 60 plus clients a month.
Wow.
And,
In Redding.
In Redding.
That's what,
Wow.
well, in all 3 for all 3 counties, but in Redding. I mean, you're
It's
located
interesting
here.
because we do about 60 clients the 3rd Thursday of each month, sending them out with 30 to 40 pounds of food a piece.
Wow.
On top of that, we have another 10 to 15 that we deliver to in the outer counties, and then that is not all of our HIV infected population.
Right.
Those are just those on low income that need help.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
And then there's more.
This is going to be, this is just a question that I'm not sure of, okay?
Absolutely.
So what is the importance of the food bank? You know, when you think of HIV, you think of treatment, you think of they're sick and treatment, and now you're saying low income. So is that where it's coming from for HIV patients who are specifically low income and that need food?
The food bank is, yes.
Okay.
And part of our mission is to get the word out there that HIV is not an infection that is now no longer around. It is still around. It's still happening.
Yeah.
Some of our clients are in such states that they can't work physically, and so they're on Social Security and on a very limited income because of Social Security. They now make choices. Do I pay rent? Do I buy good, whole quality food? And so the food bank helps offset their food for the month. Not all of it, but it does help.
Right, absolutely.
So that they can then make proper choices of keeping up their health to battle the infection, because the healthier they stay, the healthier they can live with the infection. And the infection will then, if they're on their medications and doing things, go into a state of, it's not really remission, it's known as undetectable. So when they run a viral load, there's only a certain amount that comes up instead of a greater number of cells that are infected. It's limited. And so the more limit there is on the cells that are infected, the healthier they're living. And they're not having side effects from it.
Wow.
Well, back in the 80s when it all broke wide open, it was basically a death sentence.
It was.
You know, and and then Magic Johnson came out, and everybody's like, oh, what a shame. And now here we are 25 years after that.
Years later.
Yeah, and he's still with us, thankfully.
Absolutely.
A productive, healthy member of society. You know, it hit me, this whole need, when I actually have a friend who is HIV positive, and I was at his house, and I went to get in the refrigerator to get a drink, and his refrigerator was bare. And I'm like, where's your food? Because, you know, I'm used to family of 4 and it's overflowing, right? And like, where's your food?
And that's the key for us, Christy, is that we're trying to get that food into their homes when they need it, and letting them know we exist. For many years as a food bank, because of stigma, we held back letting the community know we exist. Well, that did 2 things to us. One, it kept us very limited to who knew we existed, but it also stopped the donations from coming. We get donations, but we have 2 different sides of donations now. We need food money, and we need operating expense money on a continual basis. It runs us about.
You deliver some of the food, right?
We do deliver some. We have overhead for rent and utilities and insurance and all that kind of stuff. And then we also have our expenditure for the actual food product that we then give out to our clients. And we have partners that help us with the garden at the Shasta College. Gives us produce. We have farmers that will call us in the area and donate. They have trees that are loaded with whatever and they can't get it off their trees, and we bring it in. You know, and that helps. But it's still not enough when we're looking at a budget, and it doesn't sound like a lot in today's market of running businesses, but when we're talking a $40,000 a year budget, 24 to 25 is food, 15 is operating expenses. It's a lot of money to raise.
Absolutely.
And so we're trying to get the word out there so that donations come in, but we're also trying to make sure that those that are in need of assistance with food, instead of just choosing to pay their rent and utilities and eat top ramen, they're getting good whole food choices. And so we want to make sure that people know we exist.
Wow.
So where are you located? Do you tell them where you're located, or you kind of keep it under the radar?
We keep it somewhat under the radar.
Yeah.
Primarily because of a stigma issue.
Yeah.
It's a client privacy issue, but if somebody were to call us and have a need and we meet with them, then we certainly tell them where we are.
Right.
We do have a warehouse that we're in here in Shasta County, very centrally located in Redding, so it's easy to get to, very accessible, lots of parking. And when we do meet on that third Thursday of each month, there's not only a meal served so that there's some interaction, there's service providers available to be able to talk to about health, about educating themselves on how to stay healthier, and the things like that that they need, as well as camaraderie.
If someone is at home and they do have, HIV, how can they find you? I mean, if you can't, and I don't want you to disclose the location, but if you can't, how would they find out where you are and how to get to you?
The easiest would be via our phone. We do have a phone at the 530 area code 223-2118. That they can leave a message on, or they're more than welcome to call my cell number at 530-524-8798.
Wow, you are brave.
It's brave in some respects. The other side of it, though, is that it's a matter of getting people to pick up the phone and say, I need help.
I need help.
And it's not a shameful issue.
Not
it's
at
that
all.
they're meeting a budget, and if they can't meet that budget, we're here to help step in and help them meet that budget.
So do you help them with other things, or is your primary focus food and health?
Our primary focus is food and health and interaction, so that, because we serve men, women, and children with HIV. And while we don't have a lot of children, there are some. It's rough, but when a mother it's very rare anymore because of medications, but if a pregnant woman is HIV positive and she's not on meds, she gives birth, chances are, to an HIV positive child. That child then will be on medication the rest of its life.
Sometimes.
If we can get them onto meds.
Sometimes.
And even that, we're not sure if they go off the meds, if the HIV will or won't, because the tests are not enough yet. The longevity of those tests
it used to be
have not been watched.
Well, my sister-in-law used to do adoptions in Chicago, and so back in the 90s, it was huge HIV population. So these babies were born. So anyway, you're helping the children that have had that.
Absolutely, and so there's a whole program there. So it allows men, women, and children to come together in that space when we do food bank, that they can also talk to one another about what's going on in their lives, a camaraderie, if you will, that helps support them. So there's both sides of that.
Well, one other question I do have about, kind of when we met.
My accosting you?
No, I loved it. You kind of told me a lot about, we've talked about trafficking in the North State. And one of the things that you talked about was the I-5 corridor and how important that is to basically, not the transmission, I don't want to say the transmission of HIV, but
transfer of, or it's the movement of it.
The movement, yeah.
I-5 is a major bloodline through the U.S. along the West Coast, and we have a lot of people that come through. Having had your earlier segments on sex trafficking, we're watching that, and there's several people that we know that have come through Redding via Sacramento, Redding, and Reno in this triangle that they're moving between the 80 and 299 and the 5 corridor. With them, testing is important, because if we find somebody that's been in sex trafficking industry, then they need to be tested to know their status of a lot of things.
Absolutely.
All forms of sexually transmitted diseases or infections. And so we've been fortunate. The food bank partners with NorCal AIDS Cycle out of Sacramento, and I ride in May. Again, this May I'll be riding 330 miles on bicycle in 3.5 days, raising money for HIV/AIDS organizations in the North State.
Wow.
So we focus on the greater Sacramento area, the Sierra Foothills, and the far North State, Chico, Redding, Tehama County, Trinity County, putting those dollars back in. So we were able to, as a food bank, receive some funds for HIV testing, which we've been able to partner with Planned Parenthood and women's health specialists to offer free testing. And they're going out into the community now and doing free testing. We can't. We don't have the resources of people to do it.
And that's not really
they're trying to do it.
Focus
it's not our
either,
focus.
Correct. So here's the big question. Like I said, the 80s and 90s were, especially the 80s, was everybody talked about HIV. It was top of mind. Tom Hanks was in the movie, on and on. We don't hear about it much anymore. And the perception my perception is that it's pretty much gone. It's pretty much eradicated.
Or under control.
Yeah, and under control. It's just like getting a cold sore now.
That
right?
is probably the biggest misconception out there. We are seeing an uprise in the last 5 years on HIV stats. We're seeing an uptick. 1 in 4 new cases is ages 13 to 26.
Oh,
What?
man.
13 to 26.
Oh, man.
Why is that
1 in 4?
Because we're not 1 in 4. We are not talking in school anymore to our kids about STDs and the severity still of living with HIV. Yes, you can get penicillin and things for and shots for some of the other STDs. This is not get a shot, take a pill, it's done. This is a medication you will live on the rest of your life because we can't guarantee that it will ever go into full remission.
Right.
We don't know that yet.
Right.
We have other meds that will help offset in partnerships where one is positive, one is not, and the one that is not can take a medication to help stop the transmission. But the reality is, it's not at an end,
It's
and
a
we're actually
changed
seeing
life.
an increase now.
So why do you,
in it.
it's attributed to the lack of education
It's
and
lack
discussion.
of education, lack of discussion.
Why do you think that
Absolutely.
happened?
Because the meds have become so good, we don't hear about the severity of people dying with
Right.
HIV now converting to AIDS and dying of that horrid death that they did in the 80s. We're not seeing that anymore. We don't see it.
Right.
There are complications, but we don't see that today
Right. No.
because they're on tons of medication
Right.
that help them live a healthier, longer life.
Right.
So we're not talking about it.
But now, kind of the shift, it sounds to me like the shift is now more towards healthy diets and nutrition and things like that. Once you have
Once
HIV.
you are diagnosed as
When-
HIV
right.
positive,
Right.
correct.
What percentage is still turning into full-blown AIDS?
I don't have those stats with me today, but I can tell you that about 60% of those with HIV in the nation right now don't even know they have it.
What?
More than 23% of the nation that is living with HIV is not under any kind of medical treatment.
How much?
23%
Oh my goodness.
on the last CDC statistic. So you take all that into effect,
Yeah.
we aren't talking about it, but they're not dying horrid deaths of the AIDS side. They're dying of complications due to because they get sick with pneumonia or other
Right,
things
yeah.
and then pass.
Right. And their
So
immune systems aren't.
and they can't fight it. So there's this trail that we're kind of following and trying to figure out. But the more we talk about it and open up the conversations, the more we're going to bring it to light. We're seeing higher increases in high risk categories, folks of color.
Oh, really?
The ethnicities are not talking about
So
it.
how can we, if we want to volunteer to help or wanted to donate, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
I have the phone numbers I gave you, either
Right.
223-3118 or 2118, pardon me, or 524-8798. If somebody would want to write a check, they can certainly write a check and send it into our P.O. Box at 492383 Reading, 96049. Just make it out to the STT HIV Food Bank.
Shasta, Trinity, Tehama, HIV Food Bank.
And you're also on Facebook, correct?
We
Is that-
are. You
Okay.
can get us on Facebook.
Okay, 'cause that's
So
okay.
that's
we're monitoring.
So this is one of those things that's kind of under the radar. Most of us would never know it.
Yeah,
Rare,
absolutely.
you know, I have one friend out of thousands of people I know. It's a
Yeah.
pretty small population, but it's very needed, and you guys are doing an amazing
Thank
work.
you.
very
We're
apparent.
trying.
Thank
I mean,
you. Yeah.
We're trying to
Wish
get the word out there.
education was there.
Yeah.
We all
well,
do.
and I think just the conversations.
Absolutely.
Having these kind of shows and having the conversations where you're.
And I think in
doing
our
it.
in our households, we need to be willing to talk to our kids.
So, do you hear that? Talk to your kids. Talk to your grandkids. So, thank you so
Absolutely.
much. We're going to come back after a short break. Scott, we appreciate
Thank
you
you
being
very
here.
much for
Thank
having
you.
me. Thank
so,
you.
hang on with us, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back, and we are going to be talking to Rayana Nixon, and she is the program coordinator for Caring Choices. And today we're going to be speaking to her about one of her programs, RAD, Recreation and Dreams for Kids. So, kids with serious illnesses, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about kind of what it is.
Yeah.
And
what is RAD? What do you do?
RAD is our loving acronym for Recreation and Dreams. It was originally founded with Enlo, the Enlo Foundation, in 1989, and we, as Caring Choices agency with a lot of different programs, adopted this one in 2009. And just last year, in fact, we expanded the program to include all serious illness. It had previously only been for kids with cancer.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. So now with all serious illnesses, that would include illnesses like what? Because most of us think of cancer as
the main one.
A pretty serious illness.
Yeah, the main one.
Well, last year we just recruited a new family. The child has Crohn's disease. That would be an example. There are rare instances of kids with HIV and AIDS, but that would be another. We've left it kind of open-ended by design. You know, we really want to help kids with any kind of illness that's causing them trouble, causing the family trouble. So if we have funding, we can,
Okay.
So, but not necessarily disabled children.
No. Chronic illness.
Chronic illness. Okay. So what are you doing for them? What are your services?
Well, I wouldn't say services as much as opportunities. What we provide them is an outlet for families to come together and support each other emotionally. So through recreation, these families all come together and we have a great time, and it just kind of allows them the opportunity to talk amongst each other, and you know, they're all sharing something very similar, and the whole family really benefits from that.
That's great.
What are some of the things that you guys have been doing in the past?
Oh gosh, we've done everything from small types of events to big events. We've done Disney on Ice. We've done, last year we did a Lassen camp out. It was our first one. That was really, really special for us. Bowling, we do waterworks parks.
And are you the person that coordinates all of this?
Yes.
So how could someone get on your list to be contacted if their kids do have something like this? And what's the range that you work with? I mean, like how young to how old?
Oh, range in ages, 18 and under.
Oh, okay.
Although we are trying to start a mentor program where kids who kind of graduate from the program will come back and mentor the younger kids.
Wow.
So
that's helpful.
That is.
What was the first question you said? How?
What is the first question I asked?
You can't hit me with a double question.
The age and what's the criterion for helping them? I think it's just
how can they get
in touch with us?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of it comes from referrals. So the more people who are aware of the program existing, if they know somebody who has a sick kid, you know, they can say, hey, you should get in touch with RAD and see if you're eligible for their program.
Right. Okay.
So probably the biggest question is, how on earth are you funded? Where does your money come from? I know Caring Choices has their own probably funding, right?
Well, Caring Choices has a lot of different programs and services. A lot of those are grant funded, specifically for that program type. This is one of the unique programs of Caring Choices that really isn't grant funded, and so we rely a lot on community support through donations, individual donors, businesses, and things like that. We are eligible on occasion for some small grants, which really help boost the programming costs, but overall we're really looking for community support.
So it would be like if someone said, you know, I want to sponsor the afternoon at the roller rink for your kids, so they would pay for that for the children to go and do that. And then same thing if you have a business that that does well for children, you could put on an event. Or if you were someone like a Rotary Club or Seroptimist and you're thinking, gosh, we would love to be able to help children, but what are we going to do? It sounds like this would be a great fit
Service
for that.
Organizations are great. We actually are sponsored by the Chico Kiwanis Club. They have been sponsoring our annual holiday party since RAD was founded. So that's something that we really appreciate from the community, and they get a lot out of it too.
And it doesn't have to be funds, right? It could just be services that they offer, or in-kind services.
Yeah, so I mean, if there's a business out there that does something that's recreation, you know, they could host our families for the day.
That would be amazing. I mean, I think that's a really simple, easy way to, you know,
and not
give if you can't afford. You know, to
There's always a variety of ways you can help support those kind of programs.
A variety of ways.
We'll take anything.
That's right. Well, to help kids, and you know, I mean, and I read in some of your stuff that really you're just doing this so that kids can be kids, even when they're going through this serious illness, to not be so focused on it and focused on the pain, or be able to do something different, you know?
True. I would also extend that to say the family as a unit, because mom and dad are stressed out, there's medical bills piling up. The siblings feel neglected a lot of times, and so we really want to offer all of them this opportunity to just forget it all. Check it at the door. Just come have fun.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's a It's a tough situation that, I mean, I don't wish on anybody. How do you provide counseling at all for the parents?
We had actually tried to write a grant last year that would allow us the opportunity to develop the program that way. I mean, we have big dreams for this program, but like I had said, the grant opportunities are just kind of few and far between. Mostly they're financial or research oriented, and so we kind of fall in between where we're not really providing either of those things, and so just limited.
Do you provide lots of resources, like work with other organizations?
Referrals and absolutely.
Okay, that they could come. I mean, if they start with you, they could hopefully get linked in with other resources.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. That's
How did you get involved in this?
Oh, you know, I started volunteering there actually in late 2012, December, and my first event was their holiday party. And I was just doing office help, and 6 months into my volunteerism there, the person who was in my position was moving on, and they just offered me the job, and it was really a perfect fit for me because I have an event planning background, and so I had already started to get to know the families, and
you can't have much more fun planning events for kids than
Right.
as an event planner. I mean, it's not like planning a wedding, you know. It's like a lot less stressful, a lot more fun. You get to join in.
Yes, that part of it too. I mean, we're really this extended family of folks, and the types of events that we do really bring us together.
Yeah,
well, I'm curious what drew you to volunteer with them. It's kind of it's its own little niche, right?
It really actually is.
I had lived in Colorado. I came back to Butte County, and I was looking for opportunities to volunteer. I had started with one agency, and they didn't need my help anymore. It was just one of those things that organically fell in my lap.
Yeah. Had you ever worked with children before, or had any pull towards children?
Well, I think everybody has a piece of that, and I mean, I have a child myself, so it's not a stretch for me at all.
Yeah.
But not in a specific way. It really did just kind of fall into my lap.
That's neat. Isn't that fun how things just sort of unfold?
It is.
Right?
I think
But now I wouldn't trade it for anything.
No.
Sounds like it.
Well, where are you guys headed next? So what's happening for you? What's coming up for the RAD program in general? Like where do you see yourself going in the future?
Well, this year our primary focus is on fundraising because the program itself is kind of a little bit at a standstill.
Okay.
And so we want to make sure that we can continue the programming. Obviously, that's the biggest thing. As far as the future goes, you know, it's so wide open. There are so many opportunities for it to grow. The mentoring program, I think, would be a good example. I don't know.
No, yeah. I mean, it's certainly a program that you're right. It is totally wide open. But do you feel like the outreach, getting the kids and getting the word out that there are kids available, because it is open to the entire North State, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. We have families from Gridley to Reading. And we do events. We've done Roseville all the way up to, you know, the Reading area. So, So yeah, I mean, the funding sources can come from all over the North State.
Right.
And the recreation can be all over the North State.
So you go all the way down to Sacramento. Is that what you're saying? Or
we can. We
just do events down there sometimes?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you're kind of at a standstill. What's the holdup? Right. This is such a beautiful vision of helping these families.
When we adopted the program, it came with a ton of families, and they've grown through the program and kind of have, you know, grown up and into other interests. And there hasn't been enough awareness about the program, I think, that we've gotten new families. And so it's sort of just been slowly petering down, and just the lack of awareness, I think. People maybe didn't know that RAD still existed when we adopted it.
I've never
heard of it.
I've never heard
but
of
I'm
it.
not in that world. So
You're not, but
right?
but you know of like Wings of Angels. You know
No,
of
Wings
a
of
lot.
Angels is an offshoot of Wings of Eagles, which is a local financial support system for the same population.
Yes, exactly.
But we somehow have been under the radar, and
but
nobody
those are
knows.
some of the places that you would get kids.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
And maybe some other organizations that you may not even know of. But this is part of this show, getting the word out,
right?
Telling people that you're here. Hopefully, you know, people will start to refer children to you.
Right? Yeah, I mean,
because
and I think once the families are on board with us, there's going to be an obvious need for funding, and people are going to say, "Oh, well, you've got all these families. We need to help support that."
We want to help,
right?
Yeah, and I know people really want to help. I mean, we know one thing if we've learned from these all these shows is that people are really looking for ways to connect and ways to be part of something bigger than themselves, right? And your program definitely is. And I think, you know, if you're watching and you're in Seroptimus or you're in a Rotary,
2030 Club.
2030 Club.
We're going to name
go on and on. This is just a beautiful way to contribute. And I think financially, yeah, but I think also with expertise, time, and materials, so to speak.
The volunteer aspect too. I mean, we have no problem with the group actually coming in and being hands-on. Some of the service organizations really prefer to be hands-on, and if they can't contribute financially, that's a welcome fit as well.
Right. So how can they get a hold of you? How can they get more information?
Okay, so Caring Choices has a website, and that is www.caring-choices.org. However, our RAD page is down because we're relaunching a new website.
Oh, that's
so
great
I
news.
would say to follow RAD specifically, Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, it's search Recreation and Dreams spelled out.
Okay.
Our office location, you can call 530-899-3873 and ask for Rihanna.
Okay.
And you know, for donations and things like that, you can do it through our website. We've got a PayPal account, and you can also send checks to our office.
Okay. I think, I mean, the businesses that have something to actually do, that, you know, that work with kids, it would be great to have them, you know, get your Facebook page and say, hey, we're willing to donate a night of skating or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, start there.
Yeah.
The checks can come.
What a great show we've had today, isn't it? We had Scott, who of course is awesome with the HIV Food Bank. We've got Rihanna. Thank you so much for RAD, Recreation and Dreams. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next week.